But huge game. Obviously, a lot of legacies riding on both. For Mahomes, it's a chance to put himself in that conversation of the greatest of all time, even though I already think he's there, at least in the conversation. And then you have Shanahan looking to stamp his legacy. A lot of these 49ers were on that team who lost to the Chiefs years ago, so I'm sure they haven't lost any bad blood. Give me your 2020. Okay, so I apologize. So, yeah, that's 4 years ago. All right. So I was off by 2. Give me your thoughts on this game.
Listen, Vegas has it as a 2.5 favorite.
49ers.
49ers.
49ers favorite, which I think is kind of crazy. But
I absolutely think it's crazy because there's what I watch and there's what everyone is talking about, right? And everyone's talking about this is the 49ers Super Bowl. Brock Purdy, Kyle Shanahan, right? CMC. Everyone is focused on the 49ers. And here's what I know, right? The Kansas City Chiefs, gave up their most amount of points to the Buffalo Bills, right? They've only given up 30 points once in 12 out of the last 14, 15 games, right? They're holding that defense is amazing. So that defense is better than the 49ers defense, right? If you think about the regular season and the games that the Kansas City Chiefs lost, right? They lost to the Eagles. If MVS makes a catch, that's all of a sudden that changes everything. Josh Allen, the Josh Allen game where Travis Kelce throws the ball back to Kadarius Toney, right, and runs it in for score, but he was offside, right? So all of a sudden that season would have been very, very different. Versus the 49ers, they get blown out by the Ravens. Right, they're in an extremely tight and lucky game with the Lions. Right, the Green Bay game is very, very questionable on how that ended. Right, and Green Bay should have won. Right, so all of a sudden there's these hiccups in the seasons where it appeared that the 49ers weren't good enough, versus the Chiefs. Right, just had mistakes and blunders. So from my eyes, I see a clear victory by Kansas City. That defense, I don't see them giving up more than 20 points to the 49ers. Snead is going to lock down Debo. Then you have Duffy on Ayuk. Right? They don't throw the ball to Kittle. I think that would be the secret weapon if I was them and if I'm running that offense. And I think CMC is going to get some yardage, but he's not going to go off.
So, listen, interesting breakdown you have of the game. I look at this game, and again, when you look at the season average and statistics, you would have thought coming in that San Francisco 49ers had the better overall defense in terms of yardage given up. Okay, but then you go to the playoffs, and it's like the total inverse. Okay, now, we paid attention to the Kansas City defense all year long. They were very good. They're very underrated, I think, just because people are so used to watching KC when they first hit the scene. They were such an offensive juggernaut. They could score so many points. And the defense was they give up a lot of yards, bend but don't break, situationally very good. They played around their offense. The identity of the team has totally changed now. They really are a defensive-led team with an offense that is designed to just make enough plays to go and win. Case in point, that Baltimore Raven game. They made the plays, they got the lead they needed to, and then they basically just played keep away in that second half in a game of field position. So when you look at the 49ers in the regular season, they weren't even giving up 100 yards rushing a game. Right now, they're giving up almost 160 yards per game, and that's 2 games, okay, in the playoffs. So right off the bat, I just look at San Francisco from a defensive perspective, watching them. You already point this out. They really struggled to stop the Packers in that game, and they really struggled against the Lions until the second half, okay? They still gave up 31 points in that game, too, as well. So when I look at that, and then I look at KC, I think this is really KC's game to lose, because I look at KC and I look at their defense. I think they will sell all out on stopping Christian McCaffrey in the San Francisco 49er run game. They will come into that game and they will say, we are here. You are not running the ball against us. If you're going to beat us, Brock Purdy's going to have to step up and throw the ball about 25 to 30 times and go and beat us. He's going to have to prove that to us. You brought up the matchups too as well. They have 2 excellent corners to go and take out those 2 pass-catching weapons. I'd say the biggest threat for them is Kittle. Do they have somebody to go and line up against Kittle? I know some of their linebackers a little bit banged up. Quantrill Tranquil, I think his name is, the safety
number
slash
23,
linebacker,
number
23. He's a hybrid player. I could see him getting involved a lot in the matchup with Kittle too as
But
well.
listen, they got Reed at safety, right?
They do, yep.
I think Willie Gay might be back for this game,
Yep.
right? Like
the
he's
interior
a really
of
good
the
nighter.
49ers too, going up against Chris Jones too. Will they be able to hold up?
Now, that's a secret weapon, right? Because
Sure.
Chris Jones, he can go on the he can go against the right tackle
could.
and avoid Trent Williams, and he can play in the middle.
Yes.
Right? So
Yes.
there's a lot of pressure there. And the weakness of the 49ers are their guards, right? And
Yep.
that interior
They're the
play,
interior.
which
That's
is
why you
where
want Chris Jones
is
right
gonna
there.
cook,
You want
right?
Chris Jones
so
right there.
I think he's going to have an awesome game. We know that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to blitz.
Sure.
And so here's the thing you got to remember. Brock Purdy, he's in his second season, and this is the biggest game of his life.
Absolutely.
Right? And the one thing we know about the Chiefs.
And he hasn't
if
played
they
great the last 2 weeks
They have
either.
not. The 49ers have not started well. The Kansas City, when they score first, right, and get a lead.
They usually
in this
pretty
new
fast start in the
system,
playoffs.
They don't lose it. Right?
Sure.
So if the 49ers have to play from behind against that team, I'm worried we're going to see an outcome Ravens 49ers, but Ravens Chiefs, where the Chiefs dominate.
Interesting.
Dominate. And remember this, Andy Reid coming off of a bye with 2 weeks to prepare, right? Has like an 85% winning record. Right? So he's phenomenal. You're giving Spags 2 weeks to prepare for them. And so the one thing about the 49ers as well, and Kyle Shanahan, how much is he going to change up his offensive scheme? Right? Because defensively, I'm already concerned. But offensively, I think they're going to be able to neutralize them enough. And the Kansas City Chiefs in the past have proven not to run the football. But during the playoffs,
I was just
the
about to
rushing
say, they're
attempts
running the
go
ball.
up tremendously.
Yeah.
Right? Pacheco would get 8 to 12 carries. Pacheco's getting closer to 15 to 22 carries now. And so, and if I'm not mistaken, Kansas City running backs, right, go over 100 yards in about 70% of their games. And so McKinnon is coming back for this playoff game as well. So they're going to have even more weapons. Who's going to stop Rashid Rice? And again, let's be honest. Travis Kelce, as much as I love Fred Warner and Greenlaw, they're not going to be able to stop Travis Kelce.
I'm with you. And I think, honestly, it's so funny because as many different stars and elite playmakers as there are on both sides for these teams, I really think it just comes down to good old line of scrimmage football. And I think this game is really going to come down to who can run the ball better. And based on what I've seen in these playoffs, I think San Francisco has a major problem on their end because they have to come into this game and they have to be able to stop Kansas City running the ball because Kansas City has shown at least a commitment to consistently go after running the ball. And San Fran has had trouble defending the run in both of these two playoff games. They struggled against Green Bay and Aaron Jones. They struggled against Detroit and their multiple backs. You know Pacheco is going to run hard. But here's why I think San Francisco is fighting such an uphill battle. They've got to defend the run, but even if you stop the run, now you've got to go worry about containing the best quarterback in the game right now in Patrick Mahomes. And it's just like, oh well, you stopped our run game. Okay, we're just going to put the ball in the best player's hands and then see if you can go and stop
right?
it.
Nick Bosa and Chase haven't been getting pressure, right?
haven't.
They paid Nick Bosa $35 million a
know.
year, and he hasn't really showed up in the playoffs. I think he got 2 garbage sacks, at the end of the Lions game, but he's really done nothing in these playoffs and towards the end of the regular season, right? So if they're
Chase
not
Young
going to
was
get
good like
pressure,
initially, but he hasn't done much either.
yeah, if they're not going to get pressure, right, on
Could be a long
it's going to
night.
be a long game
Could be a long
because
game.
that 49ers defensive scheme, right, they don't like to blitz. They like to rush 4 and drop 7. They like to play a lot of zone. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce will carve up zones.
Sure.
Right? Patrick Mahomes, if you blitz him, he's going to kill you on the blitz. So pick your poison.
Yep.
And unfortunately, Steve Wilkes, the defensive coordinator, he doesn't mix it up enough.
Sure.
Now, he was able to confuse Goff in the second half.
Yep.
You're not going to be able to do that against Patrick Mahomes. And the reason why the Lions had so much success in that first half, they knew what they were running between zone and man every single play
Yes.
until the second half, and they dominated. If you give that to Patrick Mahomes, he's going to carve you up.
No, listen, I hear you. And I think the other thing, too, is, you got to look at what these teams kind of faced most of the season. And listen, I'm not trying to take anything away from the 49ers. They were one of the best teams in the NFL for the majority of the season. But here's one thing I will say. The NFC is weaker, and when they played good AFC competition, they struggled. Ravens beat the brakes off of them. Browns beat them, okay? So again, I've seen the Bengals went into town and beat them by 10 points.
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is the 49ers struggled against the AFC competition. That's all the Chiefs are used to playing against. They're used to that. And they went and they beat the Ravens in their house. So they're going to be flying in extremely confidently too. You know, from a physicality standpoint, they more than think that they can hold up and play physically with the 49ers. So I just see all the things stacking in KC's direction in this game. And again, I just think San Francisco has more to prepare for. They already have to go and stop the run game, okay? And then they have to go and stop the game's premier quarterback right now playing in the league. I don't think San Francisco can't win. I just think they're playing a tremendous uphill battle.
Listen, I think this is going to come down to pressure, and the 49ers have more pressure on them. And I think, to give a score to the game, I think the Chiefs win big. I think regardless of how you see the score, I think the Chiefs are going to win by 10 points. So I see a 30-20 game, Kansas City Chiefs, or it's going to be 27-17 Kansas City Chiefs. What about you?
So here's what I'll say. There's one part of me, I'm going to pick the Chiefs, okay, for the record. But the one part of me that wishes for the 49ers to win is the part of me that has always sat there and said that you can win a Super Bowl without your quarterback being your most dominant or best player. That's something that I've always believed in. That's the only part of me that would somewhat root for the 49ers to go and win this game, because they can't win that game and then people come back and say that Brock Purdy is their best player.
I'll say
he's
this
simply not.
again. Only 2 quarterbacks have beaten Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs.
There you go.
Tom Brady, and he's retired.
I hear you.
Joe Burrow, and he's at home.
Yep.
Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes win it big. Travis Kelce proposes on the 50-yard line.
Oh, wow. So listen, man, you cornball.
Hey, I'm just
So
saying,
here's my
it's a
thing.
movie.
Final
it's
take.
a movie.
I am looking forward to what hopefully is a competitive game. I want both teams to just be at their absolute best. I do want to see a good game. But my final verdict in this game, San Francisco can score, so I'm going to give them that. But I just think KC is going to be too much. I think their defense is going to make timely stops when they need to, and I just don't think they're going to. I don't think they're going to have an answer for Mr. Patrick Mahomes. So the final score: Kansas City Chiefs 31, San Francisco 49ers 24.
Okay.
All right.